ওকে এই পাশ থেকে প্রেজেন্টেশন দেব না তুমি মাইক্রোফোন দিয়ে বলবে বলছে হ্যাঁ সাউন্ড একটু হ্যালো ভাই শুনতে পাচ্ছেন একটা মেল দিছে একটা হ্যাঁ ও আজকে আর আইসেন না আমাদের এখন খুবই হচ্ছে বলে একটা অনুষ্ঠান ইভেন্ট হচ্ছে তো হ্যাঁ শুনে ওই আমি একটা মেল দিছি কথা আমাদের আরে পাশে যায় আচ্ছা দেখা যাচ্ছে এই পাশে আপনি দিয়ে একটা ই করে তাহলেই পাবেন আরেকটা ইটা দুইটা ফ্রেম না এই জায়গায় ওই ইটা করুন লিঙ্কটা লিঙ্কে পেস্ট করেন আচ্ছা দাঁড়ান এখান থেকে মাউসটা আনতে পারলাম না কই এসে গেল তো এই যে এখানে দেখতে পাবেন মনিটর এটা হলো আচ্ছা এইভাবে
কিন্তু কালারটা তো এই যে লাইট
আসবে কালার বোঝা গেলে
আপনি ইয়েটা একটু নয়েজটা কমে দেন, নয়েজটা একটু কমে দেন,
সাউন্ড কমে দেয়, সাউন্ড এখান থেকে কমে দেয়।
না না আমি কত কিছু করে যাচ্ছি इधर नहीं अगर इसकी सामान आपने पोजीशन में तो रखे আমাদের দেশের জুমকে আছে নাকি সেই জুম নাকি তার যেটা আইপি ক্যামেরা বের করছিলাম পুরো মাথা থেকে আমরা পুরো দেখা সব ওটা না ওটা সারা আসলে আদি এটাই লাস্ট থেকে দেখা যায় সেই লেন্স আইপি ক্যামেরা কালকে দেখছিলাম জুম মোটর রিমোট দিয়ে কন্ট্রোল
আর এই বাটনে গিয়ে যে কোনো একটা জায়গায় ছবি যে কোনো একটা জায়গাতে দেন, এটা আপনি বুঝতে পারবেন সিরিয়ালটা। আর এদিককার লাইট আবার একটু ঝামেলা হবে। এদিককার লাইট এক ধরনের লাইট, মেইন কথা কি এই প্রজেক্টরের লাইটের সাথে ক্যামেরা লাইট লাইট এটা হলে আপনি এই কারণে এই লাইটটা হলে এটা ক্লিয়ার হবে। এক্ষেত্রে আরেকটা করা যায়, ওই একটা এক যেহেতু নিচে পরে ক্লাস ক্লাসটা গিয়ে লাইট দিয়ে অতি কম হালকা হালকা নিবে এতটুকু
যে কথা বলছে তার তো প্রবলেম হবে।
হচ্ছে তো একদম সুন্দর দেখা যাচ্ছে।
আরে তখন আমি টানছি না কি অবস্থা অনেকক্ষণ পরে স্ক্রিন বুঝতে পারবো আগে হতে করে নাকি স্বাধীনতা ক্লাস সেটা নিয়ে আসছে
এটা পাস করছেন
এই যে এই ওয়াইফাই দিয়ে ঘুরেছিলাম
স্পাইস সবটা আসে এদের সাইডে কোনো কারণে
ইন্ডোর মেসেজ
সাইড কি সুন্দর
এই সাইড তো
হেলোতে দেখো দুধের Please come along. Thank you. Good afternoon and thanks to all for coming. We knew all along that the Bangladeshi children are not the happiest of children in the world. But we knew it. We knew that they barely exist through very difficult circumstances. Now we knew it and we chose to ignore the majority of Bangladeshi population. And after killing of child Rajan, a 13-year-old boy was killed on camera. and then the killers posted the video in Facebook. So now it's in your drawing room, it's on your touch screens, and you just kind of ignore it anymore. And then now we have series of cases of brutalities against the children. And today I've gathered here, the time is very limited, with very specific objectives. Number one is to report to you all that Save the Children has done so far in response to these recent cases of brutalities against children. Number two, Michael will explain to you the future steps that we have been pondering. And number three, we would like to hear from you that what you have got to say. You have got so many things to say, I'm sure, so that between what Michael says and what you say, we find a common ground and we can take this forward. So at the beginning, I would request Directors of Child Protection and Acting Director of CRG. So far, our responses have been spearheaded by these two sectors. And Michael has possibly done more media in last 3 weeks than he has done in the last 3 years. And so at first we'll have an overview of these responses. So I would like to request Laila to please start. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Rakeeb bhai. I would like to start with a personal story. Yesterday I received an email from a friend of mine who is working in Nepal. He asked me, I have to talk to you urgently. So I called him in the evening. And what he said was this: his 8-year-old nephew, who goes to a school in Uttara, has been violently beaten by his teacher for the last 2 weeks. So much so that it's evident all over his body. And immediately I was outraged and shocked, and I asked what has been the response of the parents. Have the parents seen the headmaster or headmistress and done something about it? Because in Bangladesh there is a government circular that children cannot be physically punished in the schools. So he hesitated and said, no, my brother and sister-in-law are hesitating. If they go to the school and say something, the boy may be in more trouble or something like that. I said, no, they must do it, and the boy needs some counseling and mental support because he has gone through a severe trauma. And I also asked him to send me an email with details because we work with BLAST, who monitor this type of things in the school. They're our partner, and if we can do something. So why I'm referring to this incident, that violence against children is not something that happens out there and we do programs about it. It's happening everywhere in our families, in the schools where our children go to, in the workplaces. All of us know that in 2005, when UN commissioned the seminal study on violence against children, it clearly showed that children all over the world face various types of violence in homes, in schools, in workplaces, institutions, and communities. From our work in the child protection sector, we know it very clearly that in Bangladesh, children are being sexually, physically, mentally abused everywhere. So, what can we do about it? As Rakeeb bhai rightly said, since Rajan's killing, there has been national outrage, and all of us are talking about it. Although I'm concerned that when the media interest fades out, what will happen? We are already seeing that, after the recent violent killing of another blogger, the issue of child death is no longer prominent in the media. So what we have seen that in July, unfortunately, within a span of few days, severe violent killings took place, and the brutality has stunned the nation. But if we read the recent report by Bangladesh Shishu Adhikar Forum, all of us know since 2012, there has been 968 child killings. And the report is also showing the trend is increasing and the level of brutality has intensified. So it's not something new, it's happening and it's getting worse. So I think Bakul bhai will give an overview of SCI response, and as Rakeeb bhai said, Michael will also talk about our position as an international NGO and some of the responses we hope to do in future in terms of program and campaign and all that. and all of the staff will have opportunity to ask questions and opinions. What I wanted to highlight was this. What I have been reflecting on since some of us got involved in the response since Rajan's killing. I think Save the Children, for Save the Children 2016 is going to be the start of a new strategy. And our global strategy and country strategy has 3 breakthroughs. One is related to protection, another related to health, another related to education. But we also know those breakthroughs, unlike last strategies, should not be owned by those particular sectors. Those should be owned by the entire organization. I think the recent killings, challenge us to think how Save the Children as an organization can respond in a more comprehensive way when children face such violence. And of course, we have to think how we can contribute more comprehensively in health and education. That's number one. I think it's right time that we come to some conclusion. We keep on discussing about these issues. Since the development of the country strategy plan process, we have been discussing this, that we need to work more closely and we should be working in an integrated way because we work in silos. It's not enough. But I think it's about time that we stop talking about those issues and take some concrete actions to address those issues so that we can protect children of Bangladesh. Secondly, the recent reactive campaign has also made me think, some of us from CP and CRG and PT2 were involved, how ready are we as an organization to do this type of reactive campaigning? And what are the roles and responsibilities? Who should initiate? Who should coordinate? And I hope we will have more discussions and clarify those so that in future, when we have to respond, we are more prepared and we can be more effective. But I also must say that each organization has its own mandate. An international NGO is different from an activist organization or a national NGO or UN. So I think all we have to consider that within the mandate of an international NGO, how can we be more efficient and effective in terms of our reactive campaigning in future, if unfortunately this type of things happen again. And thirdly, I also want to say that I always believe that change does not happen in vacuum and change does not come from the sky. Each of us can be change agents. I have been working with Save the Children for a while now, and like the rest of us, sometimes I get frustrated, sometimes I feel, oh, are we making any difference, this and that. But some of the most inspiring conversations I ever had in my Save the Children career were with some of the support staff. I would like to recall my driver, Johnny, in Papua New Guinea. She was a wonderful person. And once I was talking to her and asked, given a choice, would you still work with Save the Children? Because she has worked in private sector before. And she said, oh, Laila, you would. And I said, why? And she said, I learned so many things from Save the Children. I went to child rights training, child protection policy training, and this and that. So now I know how you should treat children, how you should behave with children. So in my community, when I see that some parents are not sending their children to school, they are spending money on alcohol, I tell them, you should be sending your children to school. When I see some parents are beating their children, I try to talk to them that beating children is not right. You should try to make children understand. I was so impressed and looked at her and thought to myself, if each staff of Save the Children thought in the way Johnny thought or behaved, we would be making much more difference in our families, in our communities. So I think the recent incidents have also challenged us at a personal level. What should be my role at an individual level as a Save the Children staff, but also as a citizen of the country, as a member of the community, to prevent and respond to such child abuse cases. I think each of us can become the child protection champions in our families, in our communities. in our workplaces. And if we go to some other organizations, we can take that child sensitiveness with us. So I think, it's not only about our programs, it's not about something happening out there. It's about us, it's about our families, about the schools our children go to, about the communities we live in. And at the end of the day, it's about the type of Bangladesh we want to create for all of us. So I think today's meeting gives us a good opportunity. It's an all-staff meeting, and usually all-staff meetings give us a time for celebration and the mood is joyous. But I know today's mood is very somber, and for good reasons. But I hope through today's meeting, we will begin to have the discussions, what each of us can do at an individual level, as well as at a programmatic level and organizational level, to protect the children of Bangladesh. Thank you very much.
I've given a lot of presentation in my life, in my professional life, cultural life, and political life. But I never use this three word, brutal child abuse, which is really, really sad and very sad. Okay, let's see the situation, the present situation. This is kind of a very recent data from National Human Rights Commission and the Bangladesh Shishu Adhikar Forum. We are just doing this regularly. And if you look at this data, what is the conclusion? Conclusion is every day a child is killed or raped. We don't know what is happening at this moment when we are discussing on this issue. This is the situation for the last 3 months. We have tried to respond immediately, focusing on the 4 brutal killings. One is Rajan, another is Rakib, another is Rabiul Islam in Borgula that you have seen in the newspaper. That's the people will taken out his eyes and then killed. And the 4th is Raha, that is happening Sheikhpur. And you can see the date, very within few days, this brutality happened. And how we are responding? Save the Children responded by its own. Save the Children also responding as a member of the Child Rights Advocacy Coalition. We are supporting to NCPA, the Children Organization Network. They are responding in different cities, different town, district town in Bangladesh, and the 7 university teachers and students that we are supporting them as through the academic work. Save the Children's own response, that is, we have submitted memorandum to the minister, 2 ministers, one is the Minister of Law and Justice, another the Minister of State Affairs, and also the Secretary Law and Parliamentary Affairs. Completed specially meet the press, then organize our internal meeting, observe the situation and respond, and trying to develop a future plan that how we will respond to this issue. And just to develop a kind of a strategic paper to address issue under its process that already Laila mentioned. Response as a member of Child Rights Advocacy Coalition in Bangladesh. These are kind of the first 2 things that we have started from the last year or last 2 years back when the political violence started in the country. That is an also very unusual situation and very frustrating situation for us. And what the coalition now trying to do, that is try to make a decision from the court that the no child will be used in any political demonstration. That we are trying to sue a court that's called public education. And we have immediately organized two press conference in Dhaka and one press conference in Khulna. And also Khulna, there is a kind of human chain organized by the coalition member. And so the children always be part of this and put the lead on all responses. And after that, the coalition's meeting has already done, and they have taken some decision that immediately we are requesting our country directors to visit Khulna and Sylhet to their families, communities, and the local administration, just as a follow-up and speed up the process. This is one of the things that we are planning, and immediately we will send a request to all of our country directors. And also, we try to analyze the existing laws, because one demand we want to raise, that is, all the child violence should go under the speedy track, because we have seen a recent report in newspaper that 300,000 case is pending on women and children violence. So 300,000, 3 lakh. So it is unbelievable. It means really nothing is happened from the perspective of the law. It's just something happened after the incident. The people have raised their voice. Government is taking some initiatives, and when it's come to the court, that is, nothing is happening, and it's become a very, very slow. And the last thing that we are trying, that we have seen a lot of other civil society organizations responding on this issue. So we are trying to make a common platform, how we can raise all the voice together. This is the plan. The NCDF, you know, the National Children Task Force, they are responding in different ways. They have also sent a letter to the Prime Minister within this period of time. They organized a human chain in different districts. They visited some of the victims' home, and they have also started campaign through their Facebook. There is a 7 university, they have organized a kind of a human chain in the university campus. Some of the human chain they organized in the university campus, and some of the human chain at the district level. And they're also discussing, organize some discussion session among the students and the teachers. And this is the link that you can also visit. And this is altogether that immediate response that Save the Children already participated. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Laila and Gokul Bhai. One thing that Laila has said really struck me, that it has challenged her personality. I think that is pretty much the feeling of everyone sitting here, that this incident is really challenging us on a very personal level. So when this Rajul issue came to the fore, part of the senior leadership, including Michael, was on leave. So Michael wrote from Vietnam. Nothing very open, but he was distressed. And he said that something must be done. We want to be seen all over the internet and must respond quickly. So Rosalindi was wisely, she quickly convened the meeting. And the next day was a holiday, 14th of July. So, we planned something. We secured, thanks to Gokul Bhai, secured a meeting with the Secretary of Law and Justice and Parliamentary Affairs. And Laila Premappa, she secured a meeting with the Law Minister, who actually gave audience from his home. So one team went to the Secretary to meet the Law Secretary, while Director Laila and Laila Prem, both of them went to the Law Minister's home to give a memorandum and also discuss this issue. Office, okay. Met the Minister at office. And then the country shut down for 10 days, but we kept the discussion alive in social media because pretty much Bangladeshi middle class was in social media to discuss this issue. And our tweet feed was used by international media, including Al Jazeera. We kept on saying what we really have to say. But then these are all really things that everyone is doing. Everybody is on the street, doing social media, holding press conferences. But then you have to really stand between the oppressed and the oppressed. Now, how we can do that? So now I invite Michael to shed some light on that. Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, there's some chairs up the front here. There's a lot of people standing at the back. Yeah, plenty of chairs. I just like to first of all thank you for coming this afternoon. It says something about us as an organisation that when we have a meeting to talk about internal issues which affect each of us very much in our workplace, we sometimes struggle to fill this room. But when we have a meeting to express concern about and try and decide what to do about one of the most grievous abuses of childhood, we've got 4 rows of people standing at the back. I'd like to thank you for that. I'd also like to pay tribute to all of the people who moved so quickly to address this issue in my absence, apart from the others. I'd like to start by, I'm sorry, dwelling for a little bit, a minute, on 2 of the 4 cases that Bokal put up there. As Bokal said, I was a bit shocked. No, a bit shocked. I'm used to speaking like a government officer. I was gutted. I was torn apart but when I read about the abuse of Raka, the child up in Sylhet. It wasn't that a child is beaten. It's that a child was savagely, repeatedly beaten to death, and that his killers filmed it and uploaded it on Facebook. You know, that means they thought that they weren't ashamed. You know, what does a killer normally do? You know, they dump the body somewhere, they cut off any identifying marks, they wash their hands, they dispose of the clothes, they hide themselves, they try to save themselves. These people uploaded it on the internet. They were proud of what they did. They didn't care what they did. And that horrified me. And then the killing of Rakib, you know, in one of the most brutal ways you could imagine. You know, if the North Korean Secret Service did this, or the FSB in Russia or something or other, there would be outrage, that it would be throughout international media. They blew the guy out from inside by inserting air pressure hose in his rectum and destroyed his internal organs. And he bled to death from inside. 2 men did this in the presence, I believe, of the mother of the owner of the garage, who did nothing apparently to stop. And I questioned, how can this happen? You know, we are not living in a country of heartless people. We're living in a country of good people, of kind people, people who actually respect children. How can this happen? You know, and this was the thing I said at the press conference. These people are not part of a global pedophile ring. These people are not mentally, well, they're not recognized psychopaths. They're ordinary people, and they did it because of the social environment. There's something here that made them think that it was okay. And we have to understand that. And that's why, I mean, I pay great credit to what all of us have done, including myself. You know, we've done the things you normally need to do. We issued memorandums, we saw ministers, we've done TV interviews and press conferences and so on. On its own, that's not going to solve the problem, because we've done that before. Maybe not quite as much, but we've done it before. It's not enough. We need, I think all of us, including myself, need to better understand what's behind this. And then over a sustained period of time, we have to work together with others to change it. If this, I'll mention what I think is some of the things I think, that this thing doesn't, you don't change, the views of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that quickly. You have to do it over a long period of time. The two things that I think I can point to, and I'd be interested in your ideas, one of them is that we don't adequately value children. And I've heard Save the Children Sweden and Denmark say this stuff for years, and I know I come from Save the Children US, and we don't like any of this touchy-feely stuff, but it's right. It's exactly right, and it's the cause that the issue here is that people, of course, people value their kids and they need education, they need good health care and so on. But I think honestly, they are not seen as having anywhere near the same rights as an adult. And I think maybe this is not the only case in this society and other societies. Women are not seen as having the same rights as men. Honestly, deep down, people from minority religions are not seen as having the same rights. It's written in the Constitution, it's said by people, but there's a hierarchy of rights, really. And with children, they have significantly less rights. And I mean, to be honest, give the kids, we're not going to, I've got 4 kids myself, we're not going to make children, give them exactly the same freedoms that we would an adult. But I think we need to change the way that we view children somewhat. That's one. And the other one is a very sensitive one. I said it very carefully at the press conference, and I'll say it here because we're among friends. But there is a bit of a culture that the strong can oppress the weak. And I've seen this. If you've seen rickshaw passengers beating their rickshaw riders, that I've seen, if you've seen the police beating girls, as we've seen in demonstrations, if you've seen the private security forces beating workers at factory, there is a bit of a feeling that if you're rich or you're powerful or you've got a position or whatever, you can impose your will on others physically. Not, of course, this happens everywhere in the world. People, the rich and the powerful are running the world. Secret there. But in most societies, many societies, not most, but in many societies, physical punishment is just not accepted. When you get, I don't know, I was in Armenia, I remember, and the security guard for the president beat to death someone who called something out to the president. Yeah, but he went to prison for it. Whereas I think we need to address this. I'm not being very clear here, but they're the two underlying things I can think of. You maybe can think of other ones. I think that for Save the Children, there's almost nothing more fundamental than this. There are things more fundamental in other countries. If you were in Somalia and children are dying in refugee camps because of food, okay, that's critical. But we are here for children, and if not 4, not 5, but hundreds of thousands of children are being abused, and we don't do something effective about it, then we really are not worth the name. So That's why it's so fundamental. We have been trying, and we're going to redouble that, but that's why, I think that's why we called the meeting today, because we thought you would be demanding that we do something. You demand to know what we're doing and what we're going to do. So it is really very fundamental. What I think, and I think Lana, I think, or either Lana or Bob said that we also have to remember who we are, though. We are not ASK. You know, we are not some of the many effective Bangladeshi organisations. We're an international NGO with a reputation for technical skills. We have to think how we use our reputation most effectively and how we bring our skills to bear on the problem. That doesn't mean we're shy. That doesn't mean we're cowardly and stand behind others. It means that we focus on an effective method. You know, what we are famous for is doing things properly and bringing about real change. And that's what we need to do. We need to share the shock, share the horror. We have to express our views, as I said to, I think to Bokal in that email. It doesn't matter if it's ineffective. We have to say this. We have to come out there. It's part of our integrity. But moving on from that, we have to do effective things that bring about long-term change. And as I said, monthly press conferences won't bring about long-term change on their own. They're important. I think one thing that has to happen is there should be a long-running, impactful national campaign to address the problems that we see. I don't think there should be a Save the Children campaign, but I think Save the Children should be actively involved, supporting it, behind it. We can have our name on there, but it will be most effective if it's run at least by national NGOs and possibly even with government involved. I think that would not necessarily, so long as it's hard-hitting, powerful. The problem involving government is we've seen politics gets in the way a lot. So we have to think that through. But I think there needs to be a national campaign. It needs to be really carefully thought through. And I've requested the finance, we put some money aside if we could find it in next year's budget to contribute to that. At this stage, it hasn't been planned. I mean, the work CRG and Child Protection need to get together with our partners and start tossing these ideas around. But I believe that's part of the solution. The other part, because Save the Children is a technically focused organisation, is we have to help put in place the practical, realistic things that will make changes. What I have said already is I believe that one thing we need is having women and children police in every police station in the country. And that means not some poor-benighted, brand new young woman policeman who's got no power or authority. We want somebody with sufficient seniority who can actually command things, can actually get resources and do things. Doesn't matter what their gender is, but the important thing is they should have seniority and respect to do that. I've seen it in Indonesia. You go into any village in Indonesia, or any small town in Indonesia anyway, and you'll find it. You walk into the police station, it's often a woman, she's sitting there, she's quite senior, she's an inspector or something like this, or a senior inspector, and they are active. They don't sit down and wait till someone comes and knocks on the door. That's not the way you change the world, by sitting down and waiting for someone to knock on the door. You've got to actually get out into the community, talk to the courts, talk to the clinics, the schools, etc., etc. I do think that we need a children's ombudsman. And the reason is that an ombudsman has the ability to take advantage of something like this, something horrible like this, and beat it to death, make it as a horrible, right? And make it use the opportunity to create something good, because an ombudsman has the authority to report just to the National Assembly, not to a minister, and nobody can stop their publication. No minister overrules them. That's why there's so much fear about the idea, the political speaking. It's in the Constitution. We can do it. The Awami League has signed up to it in the past. I think the BNP has also signed up to it. I think we've got, in theory, cross-party support. We need a national child protection system with children's protection committees everywhere. And we need these systems to be set up in a different way than we've ever set things up before. Always they're set up as purely government processes. There's not any public involvement, there's no transparency, information never gets out. You can set these things up so that it's required that their reports be published on the same day they're given to the minister on the web, for example. It's required that they have public consultations in at least 3 divisions every year, and every year. You can require that they report to Parliament, etc., etc., etc. So you can actually start off by mandating it. And I think that's an important thing. Last thing I'll say, because I want to hear from you, is just something I heard on Saturday. I was at Frank for a law and practice session, and it was on the issue of sexual violence against women. And there were 2 speakers, very good speakers, from Delhi and Colombo. And the speaker from Delhi talked about what happened after the brutal gang rape of that young lady at the end of 2013, wasn't it? 13, yeah, 13. I think I'm sure everybody remembers this. And the government set up a thing called the Verma Commission, led by Justice Verma, 3-member commission to look into the problem, gave them very narrow terms of reference. The committee took them, massively expanded their terms of reference, and in 1 month, and anyone who's ever been to India, I mean, you must think I'm insane, in 1 month, they completed their inquiry and published their report publicly at a press conference, in which they recommended all of the changes that needed to be made, not just in the definition of rape, not just in the procedures used by the police and the courts, but in a whole range of things. And many of those have already been brought into place in the Indian legislature. So what happened there was the entire civil society rose up and demanded that change happen. It's what we've got to do here. And you know, I think the government's response of an interministerial committee is not the answer. If they'd had an interministerial committee in India, nothing would have changed. I've been in government office. I guess probably half of you have been in government offices. It's the favourite way to bury things. Just put a stake through the heart. That's the end. Finished. What you need is what we call in Australia a Royal Commission. I don't know what it's called in Bangladesh or in India, but it was the Verma Commission in India. Things have got to come out publicly. People have got to express their outrage and their solutions, and you need a dramatic, authoritative statement of what's needed. So I think actually that's the short term that we need. We need a mechanism to, there's no use 5 or 6 country directors walking around with bits of paper with things scrawled on it. Nobody listens to INGO country directors. We need somebody authoritative to demand it, and that means we need a mechanism to make that happen. So sorry to be a bit technical, but that's what we've got to do. We've got to think about the things. We've got to not just respond with our heart. Our heart's got to be there, the head also. I think we need to think these things this really carefully through and make sure that real change happens. And that's already started. We have this cross-sectoral committee meeting over at Banani office. So that's all I really want to say, that this is something that unites everyone in this room and everyone in this building and the other building and the other building and all over. It's the thing that knits us all together as Save the Children. And I think we need to make a firm sort of cross our heart type of commitment to bring about a real change in this issue over the next 1 to 3 years type of thing. Like, start now, but try to get those changes in that. That's what, and with that, and I say that because we need to think it's in the long haul. If we think we're going to have to work hard on this for a couple of months, we're wasting our time. We should go ahead and just implement what we're doing. This will take a while, and we have to have the energy for the fight. So that's all I want to say, but I'm really very keen to hear what others, senior staff, middle staff, junior staff, everyone, if you've got practical ideas for what we should do.
So please ask your questions. Michael also will of course reply to them.
Questions, comments, suggestions.
Yeah, anything, comments, suggestions, just vent yourself.
And Bangla also.
Also, Bangla.
Yeah, also Bangla is also accepted, no problem. Oh, there's the first question from the field.
SMS, maybe it's from field office, Mr. Mahmood. He said, I'm requesting to Prime Minister, please establish a special tribunal for charity killer and ensure punishment within 40 days. And Mr. Mahmood from a state, there is no mention from where. But there is mention Mr. Mahmood is here.
This could be a question to the Mahmood.
Maybe. There is no mention. Yeah.
Actually, Michael already said about very much all about the systems level effectiveness, so on the higher level. I think for our programming, one thing, a couple of things we can do when we are working with parents, guardians, or caregivers. It is equally important that we are giving the message to our parents, to all parents, that so that they don't really feel that child labor or having more children is the solution, because they will send their children for work during their childhood. It is important to motivate also with our parents, where parents will feel that this is not the best alternative, rather encourage both mother and father in work, in employment. That can be, I feel, one of the solutions to reduce child labor in various hazardous work. Will be one of the solutions, and also they feel our parents that this is the way to value our children. That is, as Michael also identified, that we do not adequately value our children. It should be start from our parents also. Secondly, I feel we have positive discipline is one of our strengths, which is very much required for where Save the Children can lead as champion, so that we can really build capacity in terms of positive discipline in different systems and also across our population through media campaigns, so that people really learn. This is a huge need for all parents or all workplace people to learn how to do that. That is the culture, definitely. That is also needs a technical issue that how to do that. So I feel Save the Children can lead a campaign for this, or intervention in different way, which can weigh out one thing. So not only positive discipline, it is also how much we are aware about child rights. In many cases in Bangladesh culture, we feel that what is child rights. We feel that we better parents or adults better understand about children. So that to influence that kind of mentality, the awareness about child rights with all adult people and children, of course, that can also, I feel, positively influence, because now at that time they can start feeling that, okay, there are issues, and this is not only earlier maybe, and most people did not know. Now they will start knowing, and they will really work on it. I feel that these are the practical way we can start. And finally, as mentioned, that when we are doing what is that
networking kind of coalition with networking. There are various other networks which are not very much child rights networks, but maybe women's rights networks, coalitions, or other issues. We may have membership in all those networks so that when there are issues of children, we can really invite or invite all them so that a deep protest can happen through inviting all networks can be one of the solutions as well. Thank you.
Actually, based on the deliberations which are made by our country director, I would like to propose that we can set up a plan for the next 3 years, as you mentioned. And keeping that in mind, I think we need to give emphasis on the organizing the rallies, at the Dhaka level, central level, and also at the district levels, which can also be followed by some discussions, and we can also invite our allies, meaning that our partners and also these other children organizations. That might be a point that what Save the Children is actually doing, and also it needs to be elaborated that Save the Children is very much concerned on these things, and so that the people can also know, and also there will be some caution for them. Thank you.
Well, working with child protection team for 2.5 years, what made me think that what some of us said, that we do need some positive discipline. We do need to make people understand on the rights of the children. However, what I have seen from my experiences and my field experiences, that actually it starts with the children with their joking relations or something to tease with the children. Like, it's a very common practice in Bangladesh, pulling down the pants of the child. It's nothing serious. It's a joking relation. We all have done it. We all have faced it. And we see these kind of things everywhere, here and there. So what I believe the problem starts with some of the cultural settings within our culture. We do have some standards. Sometimes we take those into serious relationship. Starts as a fun or joke situations. Certainly, killing of Razon started with tying him up in the pole, then poking him with a stick. Then it becomes brutal. So when we will be doing a campaign or any type of implementation, we need to make sure that we focus on the areas on not making fun of the children. The situation which might go out of hand. People need to understand that child protection or rights of the children should be treated as like the adults' rights. But in terms of children, we actually don't make it as a note or noteworthy situation. So if we want to go carry on a campaign, the campaign should start with this kind of thing, that not to start any kind of fun thing with children that might become a serious allegation, killing or abusing. So that can be one of the things.
This is the regular working with NCDF National Children Task Force. National Children Task Force is a child-led organization. It is working all over the country. I mean, 64 districts and 26 Upazila of Bangladesh. This is the organization, the only organization recognized by the government and other national and international organizations. They are very much serious about their rights, and that's why when they found any offense against children, they raise their voice through submitting memorandum, discussion with district administration, submitted memorandum to the Prime Minister, Home Minister, President, and etc. My suggestion is to higher management of Save the Children Act. The NCDF is only with a very nice network and coordination and collaboration in Meherpur, jointly this work with NCDF with other projects. But in 64 districts, I think Save the Children, some projects are there. There should be more coordination and collaboration to raise the children's voice like this. But this is my suggestion.
In learning one's moment of future direction for 1 to 3 years, while we will be doing the planning, but from right now we can start implanting child protection in our program. We can flow this to our program to implement it, well, take the message away to the 100 over partners of all of our projects. That's possible without money even. Just we can need to incorporate the child protection issue into the regular awareness and mobilization and advocacy program. This is very possible. Just add one component. So on the current, all the programs of advocacy and communication. And child protection, it is a very critical issue for Bangladesh. I understand it is not going to end within 3 years or 5 years, but I think there needs to be serious thought on including permanently child protection. It's not because that I work for child protection. It is an issue to be incorporated in all programs as a separate component if we want to make the change. And we can use the local networks. Actually, so many things we can do at this moment while we be going for the legal plan. But we can start now to mobilizing our partners, incorporating with the program and mobilizing our network at the local level. Let's do it and look at the future plan. Thank you.
My name is Kovid and I'm from Child Protection. Actually, the thing we are discussing at the moment very relevant and very practical. But what Michael said, the national campaign for a long time campaign. Along with the campaign, lots of suggestion came, awareness, mobilization, networking, other things. But I think that in thought practice, I think one thing needs to be actually focused, that is the public legal education. Because what happens, particularly Rajan and then the Raki, because on Rajan case, it's a huge impact. After that, another case happens in the Raki, and then another case. But because of the lack of education, of legal education, because the legal consequences of the killing a child or abusing the child, what could be happen? That knowledge actually having a serious gap with the people. And another thing is that, when we found the children and then can easily a serious type of harm, it can turn what we have mentioned, that is and turn into a brutal case, brutal thing. So I think that also happens because of our perception of the children, because the one thing is Bangla Shishu and the English word child, that is some conceptual gap, because when in our society, when elder children come 15 or 16, because the employer hardly recognize them as a child, they recognize them as an adult person, but their maturity of the person of the child is a child. So I think that also this perception level need to focus when we make the campaign. And another important thing actually is the networking. We are talking about the networking. In several children, there are lots of networking. But why we are making the all network together? Because the child protection, we have the NSCC, in CRT, we have the NCTA, we have other network as well. And CRT also the other network as well. So why we are making it all network together to work together with for the last 3 year campaign. And also another important is the campaign, the media strategy. What will be our media strategy, and that needs to be defined when we will be making that campaign. So this is my suggestion. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to address a simpler part of the issue, which is the reaction part. So there was a movement called, ring the bell, as far as domestic violence is concerned, which became very popular in some parts of India, in our country as well. So it was made for domestic violence and its impact on children. So domestic violence is not a matter of that particular household, it is impacting children as well. Similarly, if we refer back to the case of Raju and Rakib, it
people could actually ring the bell, which we failed. So there are options the people could ring the bell. So if we can deliver similar message in our print and electronic media in a very simple version, so I think that can address the reaction part of it. Thank you.
I like to speak in Bangla. I'm Kaza from Communication Department, Student 526. Try to speak in Bangla. My suggestion is we have to be neutral in every reaction. Like আমি যদি বলি যে জানুয়ারি এবছরের জানুয়ারি 6 তারিখ থেকে এপ্রিলের 24 তারিখে 18 জন শিশুকে পুড়িয়ে হত্যা করা হয়। Like you know the name of Maisha, Rakib, Rupa. আমরা এখানে যারা ডিসকাশন করছি আমরা কি সেই 18 জন শিশুর কথা বলছি তখন আসলে প্রত্যেকটা কেসে আমাদের রিঅ্যাকশনটা হতে হবে এটা we need continue a campaign for next year but when any child will be killed we have to do that from our organization I think whether and it has to be completely non-political. Children, I ask many people why didn't you raise your voice during the killing of Maisha or Rakib or they are burned alive? Just think it is political. This is not political. It's not part of a political thing. They are neutral and as a neutral organization, I think that every time when any child is killed, we have to send a message, a protest through it maybe from our social media, please. I think that's my suggestion. Thank you.
In our culture, having a child is not a conscious choice. It's like, as it is granted, after you get married, you have to have a child. And I think somewhere we have to instill in our culture, or through some channel, we have to tell the newly married couples that this should be a conscious choice. And it shouldn't be something that you get married and then you have a child and you throw it away out of the window. So that is my opinion. Thank you.
We can take just 2 more questions. Saika.
Maybe it might sound like activist, I don't want to be, but I think it's time when the numbers are such big, we have to advocate as if this is an epidemic. We cannot say these are individual cases and then we say, oh, we did this in our program and that in our program. If we are doing child protection, if we are the advocate for preventing this kind of violence, we have to knock the right doors, a government or other organizations, and state this is an epidemic. This is increasing. Every day, one child being, dying out of this kind of situation is an epidemic. So I think our positioning and the way we, place ourselves should be a little more aggressive than saying that these are individual cases and there is a cultural problem embedded. So we have to start from somewhere which is not even visible.
I think we can use social media wisely and vastly because nowadays we sometimes air advertise or on any issues, but those are aired very less frequently. But in our childhood, we have seen how to make our saline for years. For a series of years. So this is how I think social media is now very much active, but the TV channels are much more reachable and we can choose it for a continuous and frequent advertisement. Thank you.
Question from the field.
Yeah, from Borisha, Ishman Bhai. হ্যাঁ ভাইয়া বলেন আপনার কোশ্চেন হ্যাঁ ভাইয়া আপনার কোশ্চেনটা বলেন হ্যাঁ বলেন ভাই, আপনার কোশ্চেনটা বলেন। আমি লাউড আছি, স্পিকারটা দেওয়া আছে সামনে।
Okay, we must end the question session, and before I invite Michael to conclude, okay, one last pressing question.
I have been engaging with all of you about the Yalam campaign, like the Plan International has initiated in relation to girls' protection. So that kind of thing we can initiate in collaboration with the Child Rights Advocacy Coalition in Bangladesh or any other. In addition to that, we have to have a kind of a capacity building program with the law enforcement agency like police, like Ansar and BDP, the village defense police, and then a portion of those who are actually in police in disguise, they need to be a part of the training program. I mean, need what to do, why this kind of things, what we can do immediately. Another way we can use our here, definitely it's a great help, but they are very small in number. How we can organize this in other areas where the institute is not existing. Very recently, government has formulated or constituted the school cabinet, which has different ministers. There are 7 people in the cabinet, and everyone has a portfolio. So we can analyze that, and we can build up a kind of new with those school cabinet to mobilize locally, and they would be our ambassador to promote our campaign messages in the vicinity of the schools or from where they are. Third point is in relation to the criminology and the violence. Various universities recently opened the Department of Criminology, Department of Violence and Justice. So we can have a kind of a MU that we can review their courses and how that will be helpful for the people. In relation to this, another university is called Professional University, which is actually Army-led university. They have also similar kind of courses. So we can, these are the suggestions that we can think about.
Thank you, Habib Bhai, for the last question and comment. As said the Children's staff, we should take pride in the fact that our organization has been the first to actually address the Prime Minister in the National Press Club Conference. Michael said that as country of Save the Children, I call upon the Prime Minister and the President about the zero tolerance. So that made headlines and it carried the prime time news of all the major TV channels. And they also, in the many other interviews in the last 2 weeks, this cultural aspect was highlighted by Michael. The cultural aspect that the strong is oppressing the weak, and also the other aspect is the impunity of the oppressor. So these 2 aspects were highlighted. Now, if you understand the perimeter within which a foreign country director operates, that was really a bold thing to do, and we must take pride in this. And when your friends and family ask you that what you have done, you tell them. So I invite Michael now to conclude.
Thank you, Ricky. Yes, there's a saying in English, there's a fine line between bravery and foolishness. Yeah, very close. It's a very fine line. And as Rakib says, you know, there's an understanding of what our NGOs say, and there's an understanding of what foreign guests say. And calling on prime ministers and and analysing the culture of the country is not usually accepted. So I've pushed the boundaries as far as I think I can possibly go. I hope it's effective, and I hope it is accepted. I think it's been widely accepted amongst the sort of people we talk to, not necessarily the whole country. A few comments. First of all, thank you very much for your efforts to try to understand this problem and to deal with it, radically, in the sense of right down to the root cause. And I have to say, I was really impressed at the press conference. I expected journalists to come up with cheap questions, ill-informed questions, questions designed to trap myself and my colleagues, trying to get a quick, cheap quote from the media. They didn't. I don't know if there's something about Bangladeshi journalists that's better than anywhere else, but or maybe the journalists that came to that press conference, they were puzzled, worried. They were trying to understand the phenomenon. And they were asking, can you help me to understand this? I can't work it out. Why is this happening, and so on? And they were really committed to finding a solution. They felt like partners, which is a rare thing for me to say that about journalists. So, and you are exactly the same. I expected more of colleagues, and so the children. Secondly, thank you for recognising, a number of you have mentioned that everybody has a part to play. This is not, stopping child violence is not a responsibility for the Minister for Women's and Children's Affairs or something, or Minister for Social Welfare or Minister for Home Affairs. This is something where everybody in society can do it. We can, individually, we can have an impact through a Ring the Bell type campaign or whatever, but, you can have clinic or hospital directors stopping sort of rough, rude, aggressive treatment of patients and staff and junior staff. You can have school directors trying to stop physical punishment of children. You can have city council or district deputy commissioners trying to take initiatives. Companies can do it. Everybody can actually have an impact. And the challenge for us is to get everybody to realise that they can have an impact and to understand what they can do. But thank you for that reminder. The most important thing I want to say, it was spurred by a reference to zero tolerance. And I just come back from Cox's Bazar this afternoon, where we were talking about physical punishment of children. There have been 5 cases in the last 6 months of children in our schools, our refugee schools, being brutally battered and beaten. And we're trying to understand this epidemic and work out the solution. And what I was saying to people is, I think the problem is we make a distinction. We say ordinary behaviour, cruel, brutal battering and beating. There's something in the middle. And we've got to deal with the something in the middle. And I was thinking of a medical analogy. If you have a precancerous condition, what do? You sit around and wait for it to develop into a cancer? No. You deal with it. If it's cervical dysplasia, you do a biopsy or whatever. You deal with the condition to prevent it from getting worse. In the schools in Cox's Bazar, I watched the teachers. Go! Go ahead! Come here! Now! Like this. Nobody hit anybody while I was there. But, there are pre-cancerous conditions, pre-battering conditions in those schools that we need to deal with. And maybe if we get teachers to learn how to interact in a dignified manner with their students, that may help them from moving towards battering them. And it may, the teachers that can't work out that, they are marked teachers. They're teachers we need to work with. We need to focus on them. Similarly, in this issue, this doesn't come out of nothing. We don't have, 167,999,995 people being gentle and kind to children and 5 people killing them. there's something in the middle there. And we have to make it unacceptable to mistreat children in any context. In the school context, in the household context, amongst the police and so on. As I said at the press conference, nobody has the right to beat children, full stop. It does not matter if the child has come and stolen your, let's say they stole your rickshaw, for example, or CNG. Do you have the right to beat the child? No. The child has spoken back to the teacher. Can you just beat them so they get carried off to a hospital because they spoke back to you? No. The child has made a mistake. The child has not just made a mistake, they might be a criminal. That doesn't give you the right to beat them. So we have to, working on that will help. Because to some extent, the people that do these brutal killings, their roots are down in an acceptance of mistreatment of children. If we can remove that, then we remove in some ways the sustenance that they get. I liked an interesting idea about using the school cabinets. And you know why I liked it? Because we NGOs are good at coming up with our own brilliant idea. We will have this, we will establish an NCTF, we will do that. The last thing we like to do is say that the government had a good idea. Whereas, for example, in the health field, we have built upon government ideas. The National Nutrition Service, it might not be perfect, but you don't reject it. You think, how can I use that? And if the government thinks school cabinets are a good idea, well, why not? And I'm not just focusing on that. Let's think of opportunities that we can grasp rather than just dreaming up our own ideas. The last thing's capacity building. Yes, capacity building is a good idea, but we were having a chat in the plane as the plane was landing today with Sharon. And I said, yeah, we've done a lot of capacity building and it didn't work. We did, I think you said, Lara, we've done training of the police. And Sharon said, well, but did we go on? Did we set up procedures, mechanisms, long-term training? Did we have monitoring of the quality of the extent to which they adhere to procedures? Did we have public focus on that? No, we didn't. Of course, we didn't have, that wasn't part of the project. The problem. We had limited funding for a short period of time, as always. So, yes, capacity building has a part to play, and we shouldn't just reject it, but it needs to go on. It needs to be part of a much bigger picture. Otherwise, we just have a few well-trained police officers who keep doing what they've always been doing, for example, or something. Two last things. Just to mention on the campaign on child protection, and this is for any campaign people here. Maskin's not here today. In our new strategy, the global campaign is on equity. And that's because there was a view in some quarters at the global level that's important. I said to Imran Matan, our global programs director, a Bangladeshi, we were talking, we spent 15 minutes probably talking about this issue of violence against children in Bangladesh. And I said, it escapes me why our next global campaign isn't about protection of children. I argued this 18 months ago. I said every single sector in Save the Children can be behind this. It's the only one that we can really, and it will grasp people's imagination. I'm sorry, you can't get people's imagination about Gini coefficients and equity. It's not something it's something you work with government on policy. You don't run a national campaign, equity, it's not going to work. He agreed completely. He said from the beginning, he thought that our next global campaign should have been on child protection. And he said, if Bangladesh Country Office wants to do something on this, we'll have 100% support from him. And the very last thing is just a mechanism. When we come up with a strategy, and this is to CRG and PQ and child protection, let's stress test the strategy in the same way that we do with a project design. We have a pink team and a red team. We get the design and we try to make it break. We say, Lala, you've said we need to do this. Why? I can't believe that. That's going to fail. It's not useful. It will be ineffective. And then she has to defend it. And only if we as a team are convinced that this is the best strategy that is effective, do we go ahead with it. And in designing projects, we have a pink team, which is the first step, and a red team, which is the second and last step. So I think we need to be tough on ourselves in this. There are things that are nice to do and the things that don't have an impact. There are things we've always done that don't have an impact. There are things which maybe we've never done and are really difficult, but which will have an impact. They're the things we have to do. So when we come up with our strategy, let's stress test it and bring people from outside, an HIV specialist. Just say, look, okay, this is not your field, but tell us, what do you think? Does it make sense? And be willing to accept the criticism. So that's all I would say. Thank you very much. Sorry, last point here. Yeah?
Sorry, I have received a question from the
Yes.
Because they are too happy for arranging this kind of program. The question was that there is any possible to make airlines within other organizations do their special work with legal issues like Ayushari Temporal Plan, etc.
Do you maybe would you like to answer that question?
In fact, the coalition, there are two organizations who are working with legal issues, and they have some idea to go for the legal action immediately. So that I have already seen the presentation that the public delegation is preparing for address the issue.
Yeah, thanks, Stefan, for the question. I mean, we are part of the Child Rights Governance Alliance. We do work quite closely, both particularly with ASK, but and to a certain extent with BLAST. And I would like to see, I'm sort of not a lawyer, but I'm a law follower. I would like to see a legal action, not because it will change the law or something, but because it's a fantastic method sometimes for highlighting an issue in some context. So yeah, I'd agree with Irfan that it's important to do that. Just finally, thank you all very much for coming. Thank you for showing your real concern and commitment across all sectors about this issue. And I think you can be certain that we're not going to forget this. This is not something we'll let pass. So, thank you. Okay, there's a banner at the back that anyone who would like to, at the time, just please sign your name to support the issue. Thanks a lot. Thank you.